Good morning, Cow Sheep. This is the Cowboy Prophet coming to you one more time for Rant Chapter 2 in light of the playoff weekend. Just some great games that happened last weekend, so I want to give some insight into how they relate to the franchise that we love to hate, the Dallas Cowboys, and also tie in why we have problems that can't be fixed until it starts at the top, right? So, games that were last weekend. First of all, you had the Bengals and the Titans. Think about this. Joe Burrow, the quarterback for the Bengals. He was born in 1996, the year after the Cowboys' last Super Bowl. 1996. He then grows up, goes to LSU, wins a national title in 2020. He gets drafted by the Bengals. And then in his rookie season, has a bum event, gets a knee injury, so that shortcuts his career. And then his second year, this year, he takes the Bengals all the way to the AFC Conference Championship. Think about it. The playoff win they had against the Raiders was the first one they've had since 1990. And their last AFC Championship before this coming weekend, the last one they went to was in 1988. So here it is, Cow Sheep. Joe Burrow can be born, grow up, play college ball, go into the NFL, and get to their conference championship in the AFC before Dallas can do it once. That's pretty pathetic, Cow Sheep. And then the Titans, since moving to Nashville, and from 1997 to the present, they've been to the playoffs 10 times. 2 wild cards, 5 divisional appearances, 2 conference appearances, and 1 Super Bowl. And even though they lost it, it was one of the most exciting Super Bowls in history against the great show on turf at the time, the Rams, right? But the Cowboys haven't been able to do that once since 1995. And then we go to undeniably the most exciting game of last weekend, the Chiefs and the Bills, right? The Chiefs, since 1996, have been to the playoffs 12 times, 4 wild cards, 4 divisional game losses, 2 conference championships, and then 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. Won one, lost one. Think about it. The Cowboys cannot get to 1 conference championship before the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl twice, and they hadn't been there since 1969. But they can get there quicker than the Cowboys can. And then the Buffalo Bills. Cow sheep that are out there that look like me with white hair in their beard or white hair on their head, they all know the Buffalo Bills because they're the team the Cowboys beat back-to-back in 1992 and 1993 in the Super Bowl. And the Bills had been to the Super Bowl 2 times prior to the Cowboys win. So they went to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost all of them. But then after that, they did not go back to the playoffs. Starting in 2000, they did not go back to the playoffs until 2017. And now they have 2 wild card losses, 1 conference championship round in 2020, and they were in the divisional round this past weekend against the Chiefs. But the team the Cowboys owned in the early 90s has now surpassed the Cowboys in playoff performance. That's the way it is, Cow Sheep. Sometimes the medicine doesn't taste good, but you got to take it so that you can heal. We go on to the NFC, the Bucs and the Rams. Buccaneers, since 1997, they've been to the playoffs 9 times, 4 wild cards, 2 conference championships, 2 Super Bowl titles. Think about this. Tom Shady, in his first year in the NFC, first year, wins the NFC conference title and goes to the Super Bowl and wins. I hate to say it, but maybe Tom Shady could take Jerry Jones' job and take the Cowboys somewhere. Who knows? And then the Rams, whether you want to talk about their history in St. Louis or in LA, they've been to the playoffs 9 times, 2 wild card losses, 3 division losses, 3 Super Bowl appearances with 1 championship. And now, this weekend, they're in the NFC Championship with Matt Stafford as their quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback. Gee, I wonder maybe if it's because the team is run by people who know what they're doing. Just a thought. And then finally, the 49ers versus the Packers. Since 96, the 49ers have been to the playoffs 10 times, 1 wild card, 4 conference championships, 3 division losses, 2 Super Bowl losses. But consistent performance. The Packers. Since 96, the Packers have been to the playoffs 19 times. 5 wild card losses, 6 division losses, 5 conference losses, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 1 loss, and 2 Lombardis. And the most recent Super Bowl trophy the Packers won was in 2010 in Jerry's Death Star. The Packers had to come into Jerry's house and say, this is what it looks like for a team to win in your stadium, since the Cowboys can't do it. That's all the teams that were in the playoffs this past weekend. Whenever we talk about the Cowboys, we mentioned this last week, 11 playoff appearances, and all they had to show for it are 5 wild card losses and 6 division round losses. That's all they have to show for it. So what's the so what of all this, Cal Sheep? I'll tell you what it is. Let me give you 2 points to close out this rant. Number 1, every team in the playoffs last weekend, every team has had at least one GM change since the year that Jerry bought the team in 1989. Every one of them, except one. The Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengal owner has been there a long time. No changes since 95, when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl last time. The Bengals, same GM. Every other team in the playoffs has had at least one GM change. But then, here's the kicker, Cow Sheep. Every NFL team, every AFC, NFC, every NFL team has had at least one GM change since 1995. At least one. Except for the Bengals and the Cow Sheep. And when you compare the Bengals' results over the last 25 years and the Cowboys' results over the last 25 years versus all the other teams, other than Joe Burrow being a miracle worker this season, and we'll see what happens this weekend. Other than that, I think the stats speak for themselves. And then here's the final kicker, Cow Sheep. This one's going to hurt, but I'm not here to put salt in the wound. I'm here to put peroxide in it. I want to cleanse the wound so it can heal. But you got to come to grips with this, Cow Sheep. In the NFC, there are only 3 teams that have not been to the conference title since 1995. That's when the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl. 1996 all the way to 2022. Only 3 NFC teams have not been to the NFC Championship game. You want to know who they are? Number 1, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, one of the most pitiful, pathetic teams in the league. 2 of the best NFL players of all time cut their careers short because they were tired of playing for those teams. Barry Sanders and Calvin Megatron Johnson. Phenomenal athletes. And they were tired because they knew they couldn't get out of the team contractually. And why do you want to keep playing for such a horrendous franchise? And then Matt Stafford finally gets a way out of the team, bless his heart, goes to the Rams, and his first year as a Ram, he's in the NFC Championship. So the Detroit Lions, just a complete dumpster fire. So it's no shock to say the Detroit Lions have never been in the NFC Championship. That's like saying water's wet. They're that bad of a team. Second team that's never been is the Washington football team. A team that can't even figure out what to call itself. Well, they're going to call themselves the Commandos or the Commanders, or they can't even figure out what their name should be. So there's no shock they haven't been in the NFC. So you got 2 incompetent teams that have not been in the NFC Championship in the last 20-something years. But guess what, Cow Sheep? You know that third team. This is the company. The Dallas Cowboys are now in company with the Detroit Lions and the Washington football team. What's the common denominator in all this? No significant changes in leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm not talking about staff, assistant coaches. I'm talking about the GM, Cow Sheep. And that's what you got to come to grips with. I'm here to give you the truth. There are 2 prophets you can listen to. As we close out, you can listen to Jerry the prophet, who's P-R-O-F-I-T. Or you can listen to the Cowboy prophet, P-R-O-P-H-E-T. Which one are you going to listen to? The one who wants to take money from you, or the one who wants to give the truth to you? Until chapter 3, you make the choice.